is the voice of Kenya, Nairobi. Time now is 12 minutes past 6. You are hereby informed that everybody is requested to stay at home. There should be no movement in town. The government has now been taken over by the military until further notice. There should be no movement of persons or vehicles from one place to another. The police should now assume their role of civilian until further notice.
That's the message that Kenyans woke up to at 6 a.m. on a Sunday, the 1st of August 1982. The Kenyan Air Force had overthrown the government of President Arap Moi. But who was the mastermind behind this coup attempt? Hezekiah Rabala Ochuka. Yes, this is the man who ruled Kenya for 12 hours after planning and executing a coup against President Moi. Let's get a little bit history of this man, just a small history. He was born and raised in the Nyanza region. He attended Nakii Kabete Primary School for his primary education and later joined Migori Secondary School for his secondary education. Hezekiah joined military in 1976. He was posted to the Isili Air Base in Nairobi, where he was trained in aircraft electricals and instrumentation before further training with the Royal Air Force, UK. Thereafter, Hezekiah was deployed as a senior private, the second lowest rank in Kenya's military, in the 1980s. It is also said that Hezekiah also had an ambition of becoming Kenyan president since he was young. At 6 a.m. on a Sunday, the 1st of August 1982, the country woke up to some shocking news. The Kenyan Air Force had taken over. In fact, the night of 31st July 1982 was polluted by gunshots from the Air Force while trying to take over, and they only managed to make the announcement at 6 a.m. Everyone froze in shock. In 1982, Kenya had only one TV station known as the Voice of Kenya, currently KBC. It was not a 24-hour TV station. It opened its services at 5 p.m. and closed at 11 p.m. The same also applied to the two radio stations, the General Service Station and the National Service Station. Therefore, to overthrow the government, all you needed to do was to take over the one TV station and the two radio stations. This is what exactly Senior Private Hezekiah Ochuka did. He took over the airwaves and declared himself the President of Kenya. The coup planners were confused on whether to execute the coup while President Moi was in the country or while he was out of the country. They decided to execute it while he was in the country, because if they did so while Moi was away, the foreign nations would have helped him to restore him back as the president. Something interesting was that President Moi was supposed to travel to Libya to take over the leadership of the OAU, but his friend John Keane convinced him to cancel the trip for no good reason. The plan was to get firearms from the Embakasi barracks, where the officer in charge agreed to cooperate. They would use the firearms to take over the Kahawa barracks, the Isili Air Base and the Langata barracks. Everything went on as planned. They bombed the communication line between Embakasi barracks and the DOD at 3 a.m. And as they were leaving, they were fought by a group of loyal soldiers. The Embakasi police station alerted the police headquarters, who later informed DOD of a disturbance, and that's where the coup started failing. In the meantime, Senior Private Hezekiah Ochuka had taken over the Voice of Kenya and forced the presenters to read a statement that declared that the Air Force was now in charge. A statement condemning the government of Arap Moi was also read by a university student. They ordered all policemen to become Raia. All prisoners were set free, and all MPs were instructed to stay at home and wait for their arrest. Some soldiers headed to Kabarak to arrest President Moi, and another bomb was dropped at Charles Njonjo's home in Muthaiga to kill him. At all excitement, the University of Nairobi students decided to join. They took Kenya bus from the University of Nairobi and went all the way up to Kenyatta University College to pick up more comrades. What they didn't know was that the coup was failing in other parts. As the soldiers were heading to Kabarak to capture President Moi, Rift Valley Provincial Commissioner Hezekiah Oyugi and Lazarus Sumbeiwo, who was a little-known major in the army, secured Moi and took him to an undisclosed location. The most notable player in this coup was Major General Musomba. He received a call from George Kimento in the morning, an intelligence officer based in the Rift Valley. Kimento alerted General Musomba that the coup had happened and the rebel soldiers were heading towards Kabarak to capture Moi. Major General Musomba, who was the commander of the now Kenyatta Barracks in Gilgil. Because Gilgil is not far from Nakuru, he lived in Nakuru, and from there he was able to communicate to Arap Moi using the army communication network, which the coup makers had failed to disable. Moi instructed him to block the Nakuru-Nairobi highway at Gilgil, which he did. He was also instructed to transport arms to Nairobi and Nanyuki, and this instruction changed everything. Back in Nairobi, the coup was not just failing, but it was failing badly. The other soldiers refused to cooperate. The coup had failed. The coup planners commanded an aircraft from Eastleigh Air Base and flew into Tanzania. Moi and General Musomba were now heading to Nairobi. But little did they know, the coup makers had managed to escape. Moi wanted to face them man-to-man. General Musomba and Major Lazarus Sumbeiwo delivered Moi to the government seats in Nairobi safely. By evening, the country was back to its normal, and Moi was still the president. He was back in office in 2nd of August 1982 and held a cabinet meeting on the 3rd of August to show that he was still the boss. Moi used this coup to finish his kingmakers and the kings in waiting. Charles Njonjo was his kingmaker. He killed him politically. He targeted the Kenyatta politicians and finished them one by one. The coup planners were captured one by one and detained. Moi started targeting the casualties. Raila Odinga was a casualty. Willie Mutunga was also a casualty. They were captured and detained. Moi then closed the University of Nairobi, the only university in Kenya in 1982. He closed the school for 14 months. And for 14 months, Kenya did not have a running university. One thing we need to understand is that President Moi knew about the coup, and he allowed it to happen. President Moi used this coup to finish all his haters, his kingmakers, and the kings in waiting.